everybody, this video will be the first in a series of the overpowered champions for Season 4, but I figure we'll highlight the most overpowered in Mundo. So as always, at the end of this video, the runes and the mastery pages will be right there for you to see if you need some sort of backbone for how you're going to be building this character before you actually get into the game. To start out, we'll go over his abilities real quick. His passive is a regeneration where he gets 0.3% of his maximum health each second. So in other words, the more health you have, the more regeneration you'll have. It's a big part of playing Mundo. His health regeneration is Infected Cleaver is his Q. It's basically a skill shot cleaver you throw. It does a percentage of damage each time you hit them of the target's health. So that's your bread and butter right there. You're going to be throwing a lot of these things. So if you don't get them all the time, don't land them, don't worry about it. There's going to be plenty of opportunities. It's also used as a great kiting tool, but we'll get into that later. W is his Burning Agony. It is an AoE move that goes around him. Little fireballs swirl around him, and it does magic damage and also reduces the time that Mundo has movement impairing effects on him, or disables. Masochism is his E. It's basically just a buff, makes your attack damage a little heavier. That's pretty straightforward. And his R is basically a super powered health regeneration. So you're going to be getting a lot of health back real fast, great for doing all sorts of things. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But that is the bread and butter of Mundo right there. Health. Health, health, health. Everything Mundo does costs his health. So obviously his build is going to be all health based. Starting out, I usually go with the Spirit of the Ancient Golem. Yeah, I'm a jungler. It's what I do. I love the 2 new or 3 new items that they put in forever ago. The Elder Lizard and all that stuff, they're great. So you get that, you get Tenacity early so you can get some Ninja Tabbies. Go right into a Spirit Visage. That Spirit Visage is going to be great for you because everything on here is everything he needs. Magic resistance, health regeneration, increased self-healing. I mean, it's just, they might as well call it the Mundo Visage because that's what it is. Go into a Warmogs or a Sunfire, then you go into a Randuin's if you want. Some people prefer a Leandra's Torment at some point for a little extra damage, but that's up to you. Here you can see the first attempt at a gank. I also get the trinket that scans. I like taking wards out of the jungle. It leads for a whole bunch of plays. Got Warwick top, so got a little extra for whatever reason. This Nasus goes backwards. I can't really get anything going on him, but if he's just going to stay there, I'm going to try and land an axe on him at least once. But the minion gets in the way, and like I said, gets a little frustrating if you can't land that axe, but you know what? Just keep tossing that cleaver, and eventually you will land it. And it is always effective due to the fact that it doesn't really matter what kind of damage you got. We go in for the old oop-de-oop here, toss a cleaver at him. Can't get nothing, but at the same time, he's going to be attacking me most of the time here, which is kind of dumb because that just leaves his champion that's in his lane full of health. So it's like, whatever. I did my part, helped out the lane, showed a little presence, get back in the jungle, do a little more damage to these minions here. You can see he has decent clear time, but you are going to be riding low health. That's something that you need to consider when you have other champions in the jungle that can invade your jungle and take you out. If you're playing against, you know, an Elise or a Vi or something like that that can come in, or a Lee Sin even, then, you know, you have to be careful about how much health you have. In the beginning, you're going to be buying a lot of health pots, trying to stay on top of your health and keeping it at least half health so as not to fall behind. But you can see here I'm leveling up and keeping up with everybody on the team. I'm not falling behind in levelings. That's not something that Mundo does. So just be aware that you have to keep in. And here, come up lane for another one. I love taking out the wards that are here. As you can see, 0 for 2 with that, but at the same time, you never know when he's going to do it. But I know where the ward is now because he popped it down on top of me. I figured he'd go there, but I try to give my lanes plenty of options here. Make sure that, you know, he goes top or bottom. It doesn't matter. I'm giving a little extra lane presence here just because my top jungle isn't really there, so I'm not going down to anything at the moment, and I wanted to go back anyhow. But I don't end up going back because this guy's being ridiculous and staying in lane, so I figure I'll give him a hand. And with Jax coming in, we see that this is pretty much a dead situation. There's not really a lot there, so go back, get a couple more items, build up your health a little bit. Love that health. The more health you get with Mundo, the more fun he becomes, and eventually nothing becomes an issue, but you'll see all that here in a second. Since I've been going top so much, I decided to give a little lane presence bottom, toss a few pings out. Use your pings, people. I don't know what the problem is lately, but people aren't warding. It's ridiculous. It's like you got this trinket that lets you ward and you don't do it. Either way, go out here, leave that behind. I wanted the carry to get it, but you know what? If Annie's going to be the only one there, I'd rather have the kill, so snake that kill from her with the cleaver. She runs back into my cleaver. Just cleavers. Cleavers on cleavers. So many cleavers. Jinx can't come back into the fight because of it, and we're in a better situation as far as the AD carry. who is also a friend of mine, but chooses to go back in this situation. But Annie goes in. How about that support Annie, huh? With the miss. You can't get away forever. She steals a kill and ends up getting killed, which doesn't really help the team that much, but you know what? Some people like to dive. If it works for them, it works for me, right? I'm all about supporting the teammates and their dumb decisions. Here, I was going to give a little lane presence to Gragas middle, but he doesn't really need it. He's got so much poke. Doesn't really matter. But here you can hear. There you go. Hey, rule number 1 about Warwick. You do not try to one-on-one Warwick. Even if you are Nasus, it's just not a good idea. Give my blue up to mid. I like to give my blue to mid if they want it. I don't offer it, just as a rule of thumb. But if he does want it, I let him take it. Here you can see I take out this ward. Nasus apparently doesn't realize that once the ward is gone, I'm going to come in. So toss an axe real quick. For some reason, he just keeps going backwards the other way. Probably not the most experienced Nasus ever, but either way, we put a hurting on him real quick. I'm landing my stuff. Since he's focusing the shit out of me, that leaves Warwick to just do whatever he wants to do and start with the Mundo kite. There's no way they're going to get me, not even with Wither. I got too much defense at this point in the game for that ult to really matter, but since he followed up his ult, you're going to do that regardless. Sit there and give Warwick a little lane presence. That percentage damage that cleaver does is going to be a huge deal, and as you can see, just keep landing it. That little chunk doesn't look like a whole bunch, but guess what? The more you hit that thing, the more percentage it's doing. It's just a constant damage. Since they're going to sit in that bush right there, I'm going to make them pay for it. You see I ride around with the skill shot up a lot. I don't use smart cast. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. It's just the way I play. But I'm constantly riding around with that skill shot up so I can make split-second decisions as to where to toss it. Here, Nasus just thinks he's bigger than he is, and we go in. There's nothing to land for me here, but I get behind him, and here you go. At that point, there's no way you can get away from Mundo. Mundo's job is to be on top of you and toss that cleaver over and over again, so I tax my friend Loki a little bit, just because it's funny to watch him complain about me stealing CS, and then get back into the jungle. Seeing that they're low, I go in and get another ward out of Tribush because she's one-dimensional, is only putting them in one place, and I shank throwing the machete, cleaver, whatever it is, the knife. Get a good one on Jinx there, clear out the lane a little bit. But I go for the oop-de-oop. I love leaving the lane and then coming back to the lane. That's one of my favorite things. Most junglers, once they leave, they're gone. And that's just the way they play. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it'll get better after I get out of gold. But the thing with that is, I leave the lane to come back to the lane a lot. And then I yell out oop-de-oop and make a whole bunch of weird noises and do that. Here she goes for the lane. I go for a cleaver, toss that thing on her, and she's just sitting there slow. That cleaver's way worse than Wither. Like, she doesn't have a chance in hell to get away. So, I got my ult up. I figure, you know what? If we can get some damage here, why not take her out and get the Doble kill? Love that Dobe. Here you can see with my ult being up, I don't even really have to go back. I'm back at, better than half health, going up. Got a few pots in there. I got half health and I'm back in the jungle. Mundo doesn't have to leave any place he doesn't want to. He even says it himself. Mundo's go where he wants to goes. So, that's the way that works. You don't ever have to leave lane. If you're in top lane, you can just sit there forever once you get your 6. Once you get a giant spell, Mundo turns into a completely different character. There is nothing that Mundo cannot do once he has his first giant spell. Here I get another ward there, but I figured they're past where they want to be, and plus they've been playing kind of aggressive. I got a Jack sitting there. He stops because he really, really wants to see what the cleaver feels like. I give him a little bit of the business. He thinks stunning me is going to help, but I don't agree with that at all. He pops his ult, which once again I think is very funny. And then, with Annie dropping bombs on him like that, he turns on Annie just to die. Should have been my kill, but I'm all about sharing. We got Jinx here, and I know she's not going to be able to take the angle. She knows she's not going to be able to take the angle, so she drops the illest juke I've ever seen on me. And I get beat up by Lulu's shit. But either way, like I said, I got my ult up right now, so I'm not thinking, oh man, there's the tower there. I'm thinking, oh man, if I land 3 or 4 cleavers on either of these characters, I'm going to dive the shit out of them, and it's going to be magic. It's going to be magical magic. Unfortunately, Jinx can clear the lane a little faster than I thought. I remember that ward's there. Take that out because it's funny. And I go for the oop-de-oop that I was just talking about. Love that money. Go in there and cause a little hell. I figure they're going to get Jinx here, so I focus a little bit more on Lulu. But Jinx gets excited, which sucks. But doesn't matter. Once that shield goes away, she's fucking dead. And that's the way that needs to be. The only good Jinx is a dead Jinx unless I'm playing her. And I believe at one point they complain about me camping bottom, but I mean, if you're a jungler, camping is basically what you do. If you got a weak lane, feed that lane. Don't get anxious because somebody says you're camping. I don't know if anybody would even do that, but shit me. Anyways, you can see a level 11 here with Giant's belts and boots, and not that many items. Can solo dragon, fairly simple. That was without my ult, so if you feel the need to solo dragon at level 10, I'm sure you can do it with an ult, maybe even level 9. And here we go. Like I said, if they're going to keep overextending bottom lane, it's your job to make sure that they pay for overextending bottom lane. And if Annie wants to be the carry, then Annie can be the carry because she wants to steal kills over and over again. Here you can see my expert cleaver abilities, but at this point it doesn't matter. Annie's going to get the kill if I don't get it, and then, you know, Sivir will show up at least some point. CC unfortunately has a little bit of extra lag because he's overseas right now, but that's how it is. Ziggs decides he wants to test out Mundo because, as they said in chat, the Mundo camp is real. Yes, it is, but it goes way beyond just camping bottom lane. I'm going to literally kill everybody over and over and over again. This is why right now Mundo is just, he's broken. There's no other way to put it. They changed the defensive masteries, so whoever decided to try Mundo out again realized that that was going to help him out a bunch, and as you can see, it really doesn't matter. Like, this doesn't bug me at all. I know my passive's up. I don't really care about the tower. I don't really care about Jinx's damage. I don't even really need to pop my passive or my ult if I don't want to, but I figure if Lulu's going to come down here, we'll make it a party. I'm not going to stop going in on Jinx. I'm going to land my cleaver a few times, and then I'm going to get a little anxious here, realize that Lulu can't get away if I don't want her to, but you know what? Sometimes you got to let people go. There's no such thing as overstaying your welcome with Mundo. Here you can see they die, but just turn around, toss that cleaver, and that thing is, it's like a wither that's up every 3 seconds. I think I messed up my build there, and by I think, I definitely messed up my build there. I went and got Giant's belts and Giant's belts, but it's Mundo. It's the most forgiving character when it comes to builds in the entire world. You don't really need to worry about your build, you just need health. Here, Warwick tosses out that friggin' crazy ass ult he has. We go in on the middle tower, and then Ziggs gets a drink. Gragas is good for that. But there's a little more to Mundo than just throwing cleavers and knowing that your ult is up and using it for that. But we'll get into that in just a few seconds here. There's a good example of a couple things. Towers aren't a real big deal. Unfortunately, the tower doesn't pick who it hits. I think it's just random. I wish it would have hit me, but here we get a little over anxious on the inhibitor. Gragas doesn't really have much of a chance, but I go in and completely tank the shit out of everything. I realize that nobody's doing enough damage right now to really stop me, so here is one of Mundo's biggest things. You can see they're all focusing me. Nasus is down there, and he's taking damage. Nasus goes past the midway point of where I'm at, so I go in and I zone out 3 separate people. I don't want the kill on Nasus. I mean, it would be nice, but it's way more important for me to sit here, let them take out the heaviest hitter they have in Nasus, and zone out 3 separate champions at the same time. That's getting rid of their mid and their entire bottom by Mundo just sitting there, turning around and throwing cleavers backwards. And that's what Mundo's really all about. Recognizing situations like that, going in and completely holding down an entire lane by himself versus however many people want to come at him. So with him being down, I mean, as you can see, we don't have a real big problem getting this Nexus, but Jinx is putting a little extra damage on me. I realize I got a few seconds until my ult's up, so do that, pop that real quick. Jax decided for whatever reason that he was going to try and come in. I go in and just take this. Look at that Ziggs. Just, yeah, you knew you were going to die when you started that one out. The cleaver's real forgiving as far as when you're close range. That thing will hit people, but those minions, just like every other skill shot, they can get in the way. So at this point, I start to feel like maybe we've overstayed our welcome. And Sivir decides he wants a little piece of Nasus, but what Nasus doesn't realize is the second that Sivir turns around, all he's going to be dealing with is a Mundo. So I back off of that fight since Nasus backed off that fight. Try not to be greedy. Throw some cleavers at him. Hold down the mid lane. Here you can see that they go down bottom now. Now we have opportunities to split push because all they can really concern themselves with is Mundo. I don't care about towers at this point. Those aren't a real big deal. So I go in and completely backdoor Jax here. Jax decides, you know what, Mundo's not dying ever, so I'm going to go after Mundo. And I begin to start kiting people again. At this point, we've fought long enough for some of the team to start showing up. Get a flash out of Jinx because she's pro status, and then, I mean, whatever. they want to do that, they can do that. I'm taking ults like it's my job. So now we have Zig's ults down. We got Jinx, who definitely just used her flash, and it was all because I was in lane for a couple minutes, and me and Warwick were causing a little pressure there. Here you can see Nasus overextends and goes past where he should have, and now at this point it's just who wants to step into the AoE, who wants to get some kills. Ziggs can't get away from the fact that I have the greatest skill shot in the entire world with that cleaver, and we go in, get another tower, steal another inhibitor. This game is one-sided, but at any point, I mean, it's Nasus and Ziggs. They can turn it around, especially with a Jinx on their side. So, I mean, you like to think the game is over every time, but it's not always the case. Here, go in, pad the stats a little bit, get somebody some extra kills, but, I mean, there's nothing they can do. Nobody can kill Mundo. I haven't gone back forever. I got like 3k gold, and it's just not necessary. They come out to go back into their base, and I stay too long and get a little greedy. We were fooling around, and I decided that I didn't want to go undefeated because it was making somebody on our team feel bad, so toss the death in there. And then, I don't know how I did it, but I picked up a kill randomly. I think the minions might have killed somebody, but it goes to show you, Mundo goes where he wants to go, even in death. Nothing can stop Mundo from getting those kills. So that is why I picked him as the most OP Season 4 champion. Just to add insult to injury, we decide to rush the Nexus. Warwick, I mean, he's trying to do some damage on the Nexus, but they can't do anything. We go in there with full health, and you know what? I leave with full health, because that's how Mundo starts, and that's how Mundo finishes. So, that's basically why Mundo is super overpowered. You can see a few of the different skills that you need to use him, and, here's some runes and masteries for you if you need a little backbone, like I said earlier. And hope you liked the video. Like and subscribe to the channel, and check me out on Steam if you get a chance. I go under the same name, aka the Coot. Thanks.